Today I'm going to give you a breakdown of Drift Appalachia Special Stage 6, uphill and downhill in beautiful West Virginia. We'll go over a whole course breakdown, the dangers of uphill and downhill, and then a review of my own personal driving to see what I could improve on and hopefully give you guys some better insight on what it's like to drift the American toge. The uphill consists of 10 turns with varying speeds, radius, camber, visibility, and elevation. So it is a great test of all of your skills, and it's 50 seconds pure on-throttle drifting. All right, so coming into this, you have a quick left. That's just a handbrake pull. It's a nice, simple left-hander. It opens up fairly long, so you want to stay out wide as much as you can. You have a long right-hander, and this jumps right into a quick left, and this is the flowiest section here. So you have a quick left, a quick right, back into another quick left, so you're just chucking the wheel, no real corrections or anything, into a big right-hander that closes radius a little bit. It opens up very long, and this is probably my favorite section. You have a little float over an off-camber jump into the left, a quick manji back to the left again. This is probably one of the smoothest turns right here into a right-hander that is a double apex. So you kind of have to stay out wide. It's a little bit off-camber, and then you flip back left. That's the end of the run. Just throttle out of it. So you want to stay on the inside there. There's a really big ditch to the right. We'll get into that and show out all the dangers. But that's a quick 50-second run, and it is probably the most fun that you can have in a car. It's just fantastic. Everything makes sense. It all feels really good. And this for me is very early on in the day, so I'm not pushing tandem. I was behind the camera car, gave them a little bit of space. So it's just basically to feel things out and get yourself acclimated to the road. When you're doing this with other cars, it becomes a lot more dangerous as you got to trust the guys in front of you. It makes it look simple when you're just driving by yourself, but it is quite technical. And yeah, anyway. All right, let's jump into the downhill and see what that looks like. Most guys start drifting this right-hander. I usually start on the left. So I start drifting on the left-hander. This is the double apex. So you want to stay out wide. Get your momentum coming downhill. You have a very long right-hander, and this opens up, so you need a little quick manji back into another right-hander, and this has also a little bit of an extension to it, so you have to stay out wide, try and keep that momentum going into the left-hander, and then this will be the flowiest section. So from here on out, you're basically just tossing the wheel back and forth, using the momentum, and it becomes one of the most fun sections. And then after this left-hander, you have an open up, which really has a bit of an extension. You're flying. This is the most elevation change you have in the turn 10, and you just throttle out. That's it. Another 50 seconds downhill. But there's a lot more going on there than what it looks like. That's very smooth. But let's go over some of the dangers, both uphill and downhill, and what we're seeing could end your day. There's a lot out there at stake. You have guardrails, you have rock walls, you have deep gutters, deep ditches. So there's a lot to think about, a lot to worry about. It looks nice and smooth if you run the correct line, but if you screw it up, it can be very scary. Now that you have an idea of the course layout, let's go over some of the dangers of it, what we're looking at. We'll slow it down a little bit. So coming into the first entry here, you have kind of a big ditch to the right. I know it doesn't look it, but it's about 2 or 3 feet deep. And if you screw that up, it's going to pull you off the road and kind of up that hill. I don't think there's any danger of flipping in that corner. I've seen a couple guys go off there, and you pretty much just wash out and go up on the side. It just makes a mess. It's just kind of hard to get out of. Not a real danger. I don't think you're going to hurt your car in any way. We're not going really fast into turn 1. The gutter is also good. It's pretty flat, so if you were to dip a tire and go on the inside line, I think that's okay. You just don't want to hit that high guardrail. But for the first turn, really not that much to worry about. It's simple. It's straightforward. After turn 1, you kind of want to go wide. I don't think you really need to dip a tire. If you do, it's okay. I think you can dip a tire here. You don't want to go too wide and hit that mud. It'll just put you to a halt. But nothing dangerous in that way. But when you transition back over, you're starting to gain momentum. Everything becomes off camber and it starts to lift. If you look to the left, there is a fairly high guardrail. There is a little bit of margin for error and that there's a little bit of shoulder. And this is the only section of the road where there is that little bit of shoulder. So not very high risk, but you are flying around this turn. The gutter on the inside, you can put a tire there if you want to. A lot of guys really were doing that. you can see the dirt wall right there. It's pretty abrupt. It's almost straight up. If you hit that, it's stopping your car. You're not going to go through that. It'll stop your car. That only matters in tandem. So if you're the guy that hits that wall and you stop the train, those guys are humming behind you, probably 30, 40 miles an hour at this point. So it's very hard to stop. Now, the next section here is very simple. This is just very flowy. Every corner makes sense. You can kind of see the next turn, so it's not a huge deal. I don't think there's too much risk here. If you get sucked into the wall or the guardrail, you must have started really offline on the turns leading up to that. But there's really not too much danger here unless you were to hit that rock wall. Now, coming into turn 6, which is my favorite, you're flying along pretty good, and you have to run as wide as possible. So you want to run all the way out to the guardrail, and at this point, the guardrail is really high, and you're going really fast. So you want to keep this speed. For me personally, I like to float this, so I would drive out as far as I can, keeping a little bit of slip angle, and then I'll throw it over this transition. And this is where it becomes a little bit dangerous, because in this transition, it has a bit of a bump on the transition, and then the outside you have a wall. That dirt wall, when you're coming into it, you have to be as wide as possible. You want your rear wheels basically on that white line. For guys with bigger cars, if you were to hit your trunk or something there, that will roll you. So you're coming in this pretty quick. I would guess right around 50 miles an hour or so. Some guys may be faster, some guys may be slower. But if you hit that with your right rear, that will turn you over or straighten you out and put you into the ditch. So a little bit scary, but it is very rewarding when you get it right. Once you get your timing down, it's not something to worry about. But for those first couple attempts, it does get a little scary. And this is also something that can be a little scary in tandem, as the guys are choking up. Everybody's launching into there very fast. So if somebody were to spin here or hit that wall, it's going to create a pretty big pileup. And leading into that is a very scary transition to try and stop. You have nowhere to go. So you can't go left, you can't go right. You're just stuck with the road. You're basically going to run into the guys. Moving on, you have a quick manji here. Really no threat. The gutter's not deep. The wall's kind of far away. You should be running an inside line. Now coming up to the double apex here in turn 9, again, you have a weird little bump that's off camber, a high guardrail, and then a wall to the right of you. So you're coming in here pretty hot. You have a deep gutter to the right. I feel like it's okay to cut that if you want to, so you can dip a tire. If you do this wrong and you hit that inside wall, it's going to straighten you out and you're going to go straight into the guardrail, or it's going to turn you right around and you're on a blind corner. So the guys behind you won't see you. That's what makes it super dangerous. So you want to get that right. And then coming back into this last turn, the left-hander has really bit some people. It looks simple, but again, it's a little bit off camber. You're at a very high speed, and that ditch to the right is very deep. It doesn't look like it, but it's probably at least 3 feet deep. Last time I drove this, I saw Mike Perez flip over onto his roof. So definitely something that can bite you. That's one of those things that we saw early on that you keep in your mind. So that corner can be a lot more dangerous than it looks. That's a quick look at the dangers of the uphill. Now let's run through the downhill. Everything is a little bit more elevated on the downhill, as you have to keep momentum to keep the wheel speed up. The transitions are a little bit more awkward. You have to run a little bit of a different line than you do on the uphill, but not so much. Just some transitions require a different line. The other thing is you're really falling downhill. It is a lot more elevation than it looks like on camera. So it is very hard to stop your momentum once you're going. So if you are committed to something, you're really committed. It's very difficult to put on the brakes and make a clean exit. So the dangers that you see uphill are different than the dangers that you see downhill. When you're going uphill, you start to look at the guardrails a little bit more. When you're going downhill, you're starting to look at the ditches a little bit more. So as I said before, guys are entering on this right-hander to get set up, get the momentum going. I chose not to enter on the right every time because I wanted to conserve tire. I feel like the course really starts on that left-hander downhill. So it's just a personal preference. I've drifted both of them. So you get into this right-hander. Not really anything to worry about. When you get into the left here, you have this off-camber bump. So you go over a bump, off-camber, and you can see how high that guardrail is, and there's really no room for failure there. You have to stay wide. You want to be out towards that guardrail. If you hit that guardrail, it will stop you. This is designed for normal passenger cars to not go off the mountain. So it's meant to pretty much catch the car. It will give. So if you hit that, it's going to pull you right in. You can't tap it and do a little cool wall tap. It's not like that. It will pull you right in, and it will destroy your car. The guardrail is really high up, and there's not really a shoulder, maybe a foot that you can play with there. It's something you don't want to play with. You want to get as far out as you can, but you don't want to touch that guardrail. And if you do happen to touch that guardrail, it'll also suck you into this wall to the left. So the gutter is fine coming up the hill, but when you're going down, you want to be a little bit wider out to set you up for the next turn. As I said, on the uphill, you're looking at the guardrails a little bit more, and on the downhill, you're looking at the ditches. So you want to stay tight to some of the guardrails coming downhill. You want to apex them a little bit early if you can, and then bring them out a little later. But if you're looking at the outside of the turns, you have deep ditches, and you're moving at a pretty good rate of speed. So if you were to flick back right, say like right here, and go off into that ditch, that will put you on your side. I don't think it'll flip you, but you'll be stuck on your side. It slows everything down, and it sucks. Right here, you can see that the guardrail is actually over my hood. So that gives you a little bit of insight on how high these guardrails are. If you were to hit that, you're coming to a complete halt, and it's just going to claim a lot on your car. You definitely don't want to. For me, my fear is to go under that. I don't want to go under that, as it's a massive ravine down there. You're going to be far downhill. Big recovery. This extension here, you're going really fast. You want to have an inside line. Some guys can run that on the outside. For me, I didn't have enough power to really get out there. I think the line sets you up a little better for the next turn if you run it to the inside. Then you have this flowy section. This is what was easy uphill. It's also easy downhill if you get your timing correct, but the danger of running it downhill is much more than the uphill. You can see the cones that are up there. That is where a car had hit earlier in the day, and I mean, it wrecked it. So it pushed in the shock towers and wrecked some suspension, the hood, everything. It just ended his day. So you don't want to hit that. Now that it had been hit, it's even weaker. We could go under that. You could go off right there. That's something you have to think about. So stay away from that zone. And then down in this section, you have a rock wall. So if you were to go off, you're hitting straight up rocks. And it's a wall, man. It's not going anywhere. It's a mountain. You're not moving mountains in a Miata. Then this last turn on the downhill is a nice right-hander, but it's easy to screw up because you have so much elevation. So it's going to try and pull you off the road. You want to stay on throttle and try and bring it in as tight as you can. It does tend to wash you out to the outside, and that's kind of the end of the danger for your run on the downhill. So a little bit different uphill versus downhill, some of the same things, but you're looking at them in different areas. You're coming at them at different speeds. So the uphill and the downhill both have different areas that have potential risk. But if you're on the right line, there's really nothing to worry about here. This is the easiest and slowest of the stages that we've run. So the price for failure here is pretty high. However, you're going a bit slower than we are on the other ones. The road makes more sense. It's very nice. It's easy and flowy. So if you get a groove, there's really not too much to worry about. The only thing that makes it difficult is in a tandem situation. You got 15 cars out there or more, and if somebody gets stalled around a corner and you can't see, it's very hard to put on the brakes. So that's elevating the risk just a little bit more, because when you run it by yourself, you have a risk. But when you're running with a whole bunch of other people, it's hard to see what's going on in front of you. It's hard to know what's going on behind you, as you really have to stay focused on the road. So you got a lot of trust in these guys. That's why they're hand-picked drivers. We all trust each other. These are successful runs. This was a successful trip. So let's move on. Let's move on to what I feel like this run looks like to me and what I can improve. And in true fashion of the mountain, we're going back to the uphill. So we're going to trade back and forth. When you run, it's 50 seconds uphill, 50 seconds downhill, and it's a really quick turnaround. If there's no incidents, you're just running. They are 45-minute sessions. Every hour on the hour, we open the road for 15 minutes to local traffic, and then we're back into another session. 45 minutes up and down, 50 seconds each. When you spin around, it's fairly quick. So within a minute or two, you're already back and running up the hill. So between runs, there's only a couple minutes. You have 45 minutes each session. There's multiple sessions throughout the day, so you get a ton of seat time. And it's pretty easy on tires, so you get a lot of run time. For me, my limiting factor in the past was the heat of the car. The car gets really warm running that hard for almost an hour. All right, so coming into turn one, I kind of just did a slow entry. I would like to improve there. I think I could be quicker to angle. I like the line. I like the line coming into this turn. I don't think that the handbrake there is necessary. I think I could have got around that as it's uphill. The handbrake is just kind of a safety thing. Through here, very smooth. I like the line through here. Again, touching the handbrake, I don't think it was necessary. In this section, I believe the handbrake is necessary. You have to scrub a lot of speed coming over that crest. So that's kind of necessary. The quick little manji here, also necessary in the Miata. And then coming into this turn, I would like to go a little bit wider than I did. Avoid that handbrake pull. I don't think I need to grab the handbrake. Uphill, I don't think you need to touch it. That's something I really want to work on, is not touching the handbrake. And I think that is a combination of just checking your equipment, making sure everything is good, checking up yourself. So it's basically just being scared. If you're pulling the handbrake on the uphill, it's just to settle the car, and basically you're just scared, which we all are. Like I had mentioned, there's a lot of dangers on the road, and in those high danger areas, you might grab the brake just to settle yourself. I don't think it's necessary, especially if you're the lead car and you have clean air. You can really just stay on throttle. Most of my lead runs, I tried my hardest not to use the handbrake at all. On the downhill, I'd say you use the handbrake a little bit more. But for me, I would like to clean up my line a little bit on the uphill, and I'd like to avoid using the handbrake and then a quicker entry. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with how I ran. This is my third time running up here. So every time I'm looking for improvements, I want to run different lines. We've run the gutter line, we've run inside, we've run outside. I kind of chose to be in between. I like to stay in the middle of the road. I'm not driving terribly exciting, but it is something that I think has kept me out of danger. This is my fifth Drift Appalachia in a row without any real incidents. So I'm driving a little bit safer than some of the guys. Some of the guys are driving real hot out there and doing some real gangster stuff, which is cool. But for me, I'd like to keep my car in one piece. I'm pretty happy with how I drove. I do want to get a little bit more aggressive when I get the S14 back out there. For a safe uphill run, I think that's a fairly good thing. Just trying to avoid using the handbrake so much, improve my line, improve my entry, and that's basically it. That's how I feel like I could improve. I think my speed was good and all that. Who cares? Whatever. All right, moving on to the downhill. I was avoiding this right turn, and I think I should probably jump into that a little bit better. It'd give me a little more momentum coming downhill. But I was plugging the handbrake a little bit more than I wanted to here. I don't think it was necessary to hit it in the first couple corners, but some of these transitions, you definitely need that extension. I would like to stay a little more on throttle. Through this section here, I know that a couple of the guys were talking about doing this fully on throttle, which is a little bit scary to me, especially in the Miata. I really need that momentum. I kind of have to use the handbrake extension. There's probably a better line for me to take to get out to the right a little more. If I was able to flick it back over and stay closer to that guardrail on throttle, I might be able to make this without a handbrake extension, but the risk there is way higher than the reward to me. I think it would feel really cool. I haven't personally seen anybody do it, but I know it's possible. We've all talked about it. I think I could do it in the S14. I think the Miata is a little difficult for me to do it in. Maybe after a few tries, but not the risk I want to take. Here, another handbrake checkup that was really unnecessary. In this session here, I feel like the handbrake is a little bit necessary to check your speed. Some of these extensions, I don't think you need a handbrake. And then this flick here, I didn't need the handbrake extension to the right. That's again just another checkup. I think if I was to stay on throttle for another second longer, flick it back, I wouldn't have to use the handbrake at all. It would set me into the last corner really nicely. So again, just trying to avoid using the handbrake, especially in the lead position. I really didn't have anybody in front of me slowing me down. I wasn't expecting any errors from anything. We knew the camera car was going to be right on and fully ahead of me. So these are just some things that I was being nitpicky about. I think I could avoid using the handbrake both uphill and downhill a little bit less. You're going to need the handbrake a little bit more on the downhill as you have a pretty big elevation change. The momentum is carrying you out a little bit. But in my driving, I really don't like to see the handbrake. I think it's just a crutch. It's something to make you feel safe. It's like if you're rock climbing, you check and see the rope is still there, something like that. So it's just a safety net, and I think all of us do it, but don't realize how much you do it until you're doing it. When you watch back on the footage, it's like, yeah, I probably could have avoided that. But overall, I'm pretty happy with my driving. I got to do a lot more on the downhill this time, so very stoked with that. So let me know in the comments how I did, what you guys think of my driving, what you think of my review on it. I think that I could avoid some of these handbrake pulls. Overall, I thought it was fairly clean driving, but I know I could improve the line and improve some of the handbrake pulls. But let me know what you think. So this is my first time doing a review of a road and a review of my own driving. If you guys like this kind of content, let me know, because I would like to continue doing it. It's fun for me. It's a little bit different. It's something to change up. I'm mostly building cars. That's what you see all the time. But my real passion is driving. I really like the breakdown. I really like the breakdown of the roads. I like to try and improve. So if you want to see more of this, let me know. We have multiple stages. It gives you a little bit of insight on what's going on. I know it's a tight group. We are accepting more drivers. So if you want to get into something like this, I hope this helps you guys out and you get to see what the roads look like, what we're expecting from the driving. So you get a little bit of an idea before you even apply. And if you are able to get in, you have an idea of what to expect when you're going out there. So if you want to see more of this, let me know. Also, I do have merch available. If you want to support that way, stop by maddecedentracing.com. I have it in the description. Go click that link, click around. I have hats, hoodies, stickers, shirts. I even got Noburi flags. So if you want to check that stuff out and you can support, go for it. If you can't, like, comment, subscribe. That stuff's all free. I want to keep bringing you free content. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.